Welcome back to Mythic Slumber, where ancient legends are a gentle current to carry you to sleep. Tonight we drift through an ocean of memory to a place of impossible beauty and peace, the lost city of Atlantis. Find your most comfortable position and let your breathing slow, like the deep, gentle tides of a calm sea. We will explore its glowing streets and circles of harmony, letting the story of this dreamlike civilization guide you toward restorative rest. If this journey beneath the waves brings you peace, a gentle like helps other weary souls discover this ocean of slumber. Our journey tonight does not begin with a descent into the cold, dark and silent depths of the ocean. It begins instead in the warm, golden and gentle light of a long ago afternoon, in a quiet and sacred grove that lies just outside the sun-baked walls of ancient Athens. Let us travel back in our minds, across more than 2,000 years of sleeping history, to this place of profound and simple peace. We find ourselves in a grove of ancient and beautiful olive trees, their leaves a soft, shimmering sea of silver green, their trunks gnarled and twisted into wise and patient shapes by the slow and gentle hand of the centuries. The air here is warm, dry, and fragrant with the clean, earthy scent of the sun-baked soil, the subtle, peppery perfume of the olive leaves, and the distant, sweet aroma of the wild thyme that grows on the nearby hills. The only sounds are the gentle, hypnotic, and ever-present hum of the cicadas, a sound that is the very heartbeat of a Mediterranean summer, and the soft, whispering sigh of a gentle breeze as it moves through the silvery leaves of the trees. It is a place of deep and profound tranquility, a sanctuary for the quiet and patient work of the mind. This is the academia, the garden of thought, and the home of the great and gentle philosopher Plato. Imagine a small group of men dressed in the simple, white and flowing robes of ancient Greece, gathered in the cool and dappled shade of a particularly ancient olive tree. They are not arguing or debating in loud and aggressive tones. They are listening. They are reclined on the soft grass, or seated on simple, smooth stone benches, their faces turned towards the old man who sits in their midst. This is Plato. He is an old man now. His beard is as white as the marble of the distant Parthenon, and his face is a beautiful and intricate map of a long life of deep and profound thought. But his eyes, when he speaks, are clear, bright, and full of a gentle and captivating light. His voice is not the voice of a lecturer, delivering a dry and difficult lesson. It is the voice of a master storyteller, a voice that is low, calm, rhythmic, and deeply mesmerizing. It is a voice that does not command your attention, but rather it invites it, creating a gentle and irresistible current of thought that carries the listener along. And the story he is telling today is not one of his own creation. It is a story, he explains, that is far, far older than he is, a story that has come to him as a faint, beautiful, and almost forgotten echo from the very dawn of time. He tells his listeners that they must imagine him as a young boy, listening with wide-eyed wonder to a tale being told by a very old man named Critias, and as he speaks, our own imagination can drift to that scene, to a quiet courtyard in Athens, a young boy sitting at the feet of his elder, an old man whose voice is soft and crackling like dry leaves as he tells a story that was told to him when he was a boy. This story, Critias explains, is a family heirloom, a precious and sacred memory that has been passed down through the generations. And so, we drift back further still, another layer deep into this beautiful and nested dream of a story. We are now with the boy Critias, as he listens to his own grandfather, also named Critias, a man who is now over 90 years old. The grandfather is telling the story not as a grand and epic saga, but as a fond and distant memory of his own youth, a tale that has the warm and gentle quality of a half-remembered lullaby. And this story, the grandfather says, was told to him by the greatest and wisest man their family had ever known, the great Athenian lawgiver and poet, the legendary Solon. The chain of memory goes deeper still. we must now travel back again to a time when Solon, the wisest of all the Greeks, was himself a young and curious traveller. Imagine him now on a journey to the ancient and mysterious land of Egypt, a civilization that was already impossibly old when Athens was still just a young and growing city. Solon travels to the sacred temple district of Sais, in the fertile delta of the Nile. Here, he enters the great and silent temples, vast, cool and shadowy halls of stone, their walls covered in the beautiful, intricate and mysterious picture language of the hieroglyphs. And here, in these deep and hallowed halls, Solon speaks with the ancient priests. They are men who seem to be as old and as patient as the stone of the temples themselves. They move with a slow and deliberate grace. Their heads are shaven, their linen robes are a pure and spotless white, and their eyes hold the deep, calm and quiet wisdom of a people who do not measure time in years or in lifetimes, but in dynasties and in thousands of years. Solon, in his Greek pride, tells the priests the great stories of his own people, the myths of the great flood and of the first men. The priests listen with a gentle and patient smile, and then one of the oldest among them speaks, his voice as soft and as dry as the desert wind. He tells Solon that the Greeks are like children, that their memories are short, and that their oldest stories are but the tales of yesterday. For here, in the sacred records of their temples, recorded in the eternal and unchanging language of the hieroglyphs, they have histories that are far, far older. They have the memory of a world that existed before the great floods, and the destructions that periodically wash the memory of the younger races clean. And it is here, in this deep, cool and shadowy temple, that the priest decides to share with Solon a story from these ancient sacred records. It is the story of the greatest and most noble civilization that ever existed in that ancient and forgotten world. It is the story of a great and powerful island empire, a kingdom of impossible beauty and of profound and gentle peace. He tells Solon of a great island, larger than all of Libya and of Asia put together, that once existed in the great Atlantic Ocean, just beyond the Pillars of Hercules, the Straits of Gibraltar. And the name of this island, the priest whispers, his voice now a low and reverent hum, was Atlantis. He tells Solon that this was the great and original mother civilization, and that Solon's own city of Athens in that ancient and forgotten time was one of its greatest and most noble rivals. He tells of a time 9,000 years before their own, when the world was a different place, a place of heroes and of wonders that have now been completely forgotten by all but these ancient hieroglyphic records. And so, the story has travelled from the eternal stone records of an Egyptian temple to the curious mind of the wise Athenian, Solon. From Solon, as a treasured memory, to his relative, the grandfather of Critias. From the old man, as a childhood lullaby, to the young boy, Critias. From the now old Critias, as a fond and distant recollection, to the young and brilliant philosopher Plato. And now, from Plato, in the warm and gentle shade of his olive grove, to his students, and to us. The story has come to us as a faint and beautiful whisper, a story that has been passed through the minds and the hearts of so many generations that it now has the quality of a dream. It is a memory of a memory, a tale that is shrouded in the mists of an immense and almost unimaginable antiquity. It is this very distance, this deep and profound sense of a story from a world that is almost entirely lost, that gives the legend of Atlantis its deep and enduring power. We are left now, back in the quiet and sun-dappled grove, as Plato finishes this first part of his tale. His listeners are silent, their minds filled with a sense of quiet and profound wonder. The gentle hum of the cicadas seems to be the only sound in the world. The story of Atlantis now hangs in the warm, golden Athenian air, a beautiful and mysterious possibility, a perfect and half-forgotten dream. It is a lullaby of a lost world, a story that seems to call to the oldest and deepest parts of our own memory, a story that invites us to journey to a place that we feel, in our hearts, we have somehow always known. And the first step on that journey is to understand how this magnificent and beautiful island was first brought into being. The story of Atlantis, that faint and beautiful echo that has travelled to us through the long and winding corridors of time, is now waiting to be told. The gentle voice of the old philosopher in his sun-dappled olive grove fades, and in its place the vast and silent landscape of a much older and more magical world begins to form in our minds. Let us now drift back, beyond the time of men and of their histories, to a mythic age, a time when the world was still young, a time when the gods still walked in the quiet, lonely places of the earth, and the great and silent sea held the world in its deep and patient embrace. Imagine the world as it was then. It is a world of a pure and simple beauty. The continents have not yet settled into their familiar shapes, and the great open ocean is a vast, calm and largely empty canvas, its surface a shimmering, endless plain of the deepest and most tranquil blue. The air is clean, the light is pure, and the silence of the planet is a deep and resonant chord. In this age, the gods of Olympus had divided the world amongst themselves, each taking a domain to be their own, to watch over and to cherish. And to the great god Poseidon, the brother of Zeus, was given the vast, silent and mysterious kingdom of the sea. Let us not imagine Poseidon as the angry and tempestuous god of the myths, the shaker of the earth, his trident a weapon of wrath and of destruction. Let us instead imagine him in his true and quiet essence. He is the spirit of the deep ocean itself. His power is not in the violent, crashing waves of the storm, but in the immense, slow, and irresistible pressure of the deep, in the patient, eternal rhythm of the tides, and in the profound, all-encompassing silence of the abyss. He is a solitary and contemplative god, his home a vast, silent, and beautiful palace of coral and of pearl in the deepest part of the sea. And from this quiet and lonely kingdom, he watches over the slow and silent turning of the world. In his domain, in the great Atlantic Ocean, there was at that time a simple and unremarkable island. It was a beautiful place, a gentle land of green hills, of clear, fresh springs, and of a mild and pleasant climate. But it was a place that was unknown to the rest of the world, a quiet and forgotten corner of the great blue expanse. And on this island lived a small and humble human family. The parents, Ivanor and Leucippe, were born from the very soil of the island itself, and they had a single, beautiful daughter, a mortal maiden by the name of Cleito. Imagine this young woman. She's a creature of profound and simple grace. Her spirit as clear and as gentle as the springs of fresh water that bubble up from the hills of her island home. When her parents pass away into the sleep of ages, she is left all alone, the sole inhabitant of this quiet and secluded world. She is not lonely in a sad or a desperate way. Her solitude is a state of deep and peaceful communion with the natural world around her. She spends her days wandering the green hills, her heart full of a quiet and unspoken love for the land, for the sky, and most of all for the great, endless and beautiful sea that is the constant companion of her quiet and gentle life. And Poseidon, from his deep and silent kingdom below, becomes aware of her. He does not see her with his eyes, but he feels her spirit. He feels her pure, gentle and loving presence as a warm and pleasant current in the vast and cold expanse of his own immortal existence. He's drawn to her quiet grace, to her simple and profound connection to his own domain of the sea, and a deep and gentle love, the kind of love that can only be felt by an eternal and solitary God, begins to bloom in his ancient heart. He falls in love with this mortal maiden, with her quiet beauty and her gentle soul, and with this love comes a great and powerful desire to protect her, to create for her a sanctuary that will keep her safe forever from the harshness and the dangers of the outer world. a perfect and secluded paradise where she can live in a state of eternal peace. And so, the great, quiet, and contemplative god becomes a creator. He decides to reshape the world for her, to build for her the most magnificent and the most perfectly protected home that the world has ever known. Let us now watch this divine and beautiful act of creation. It is not a violent and chaotic act of geology, not a great and terrible upheaval of the earth. It is a slow, graceful and magical process, as quiet and as beautiful as a flower blooming in a time-lapse film. Poseidon does not strike the earth with his trident. He simply lays his divine will upon the land, and the land, in a gentle and loving response, begins to change its very form. First, the hill in the very centre of the island, the hill upon which Cleito has her simple home, begins to rise. It grows slowly, gracefully, its slopes remaining gentle and green, until it is a high and commanding peak, a perfect and unassailable sanctuary at the very heart of the land. He has lifted her up closer to the heavens and has created a natural fortress around her. And then the most wondrous and beautiful part of his creation begins. With a slow and graceful sweep of his divine and cosmic thought, he carves into the land around her central hill. He does not break the earth, he simply persuades it to part. And a great circular ring of water appears, a perfect and beautiful moat of the deepest blue, surrounding her home, a protective and impassable barrier of the sea. But he does not wish to make her a prisoner, and so, beyond this first ring of water, he allows a great circular ring of land to remain, a perfect and beautiful girdle of green earth. And then beyond that, he carves another wider ring of the sea, and then another, even wider ring of the land. And he continues this process until he has created a magnificent and breathtaking pattern. 2 great rings of green and fertile land, and 3 great rings of the deep and placid blue sea, all of them arranged in perfect, divine and harmonious concentric circles around the central mountain where his beloved Cleito resides. The creation is a masterpiece of divine and sacred geometry. It is a mandala, a perfect and beautiful symbol of harmony, of protection, and of a deep and centered peace, now made real in the very substance of the earth and the water. It is a city that is both a part of the land and a part of the sea, a perfect and beautiful union of the 2 worlds. And then he bestows upon his creation his final, loving gifts. He strikes the central mountain, and from the living rock 2 springs of pure, clean water begin to flow. One is a spring of wonderfully cool and refreshing water, the other a spring of naturally hot and healing water. And he blesses the land of the 2 great rings, causing it to become magically and impossibly fertile. The soil becomes rich and dark, and from it, all manner of wonderful and delicious plants begin to grow, providing an effortless and endless abundance of food. He creates a perfect and self-sustaining paradise, a garden of the gods, a place where no one will ever know hunger, or thirst, or want. Here, in this perfect and protected world, Poseidon and the mortal maiden Cleito come together, and she bears for him 5 pairs of twin sons, 10 noble and beautiful boys who are half god, half man. These 10 sons will become the first 10 kings of this new and magical land, and their descendants will become the great and wise and peaceful people of the civilization that the world will one day come to know as Atlantis. The great act of creation is complete. A world has been born from an act of divine and gentle love. It is a place of perfect balance, of perfect harmony, of perfect safety, and of perfect abundance. It is a sanctuary, a paradise, a dream of a perfect world made real. And it rests now in the heart of the great quiet ocean, its magnificent and beautiful concentric circles, a silent and powerful testament to the love that brought it into being. A new and perfect world has been born from an act of divine and gentle love. The island of Atlantis now rests in the heart of a great and quiet ocean. a secret and protected sanctuary, a masterpiece of sacred and harmonious design. It is a world created as a gift, a place where a new and noble civilization, born from the union of a god and a mortal, is about to begin its long and peaceful story. But before we meet the people of this dreamlike city, let us first explore the city itself. For the physical form of Atlantis, its unique and beautiful layout is the key to understanding the deep and profound peace that was the very essence of its soul. Let us imagine ourselves approaching the island, not from the sky, but as a gentle and curious visitor from the sea. We are in a small, silent boat, gliding over the calm, deep blue waters of the open ocean. In the distance, the island of Atlantis rises from the water, its central mountain, a soft, green peak against a clear and cloudless sky. As we draw closer, we see that the island is encircled by a great, formidable seawall, but it does not feel like a menacing or aggressive fortification. It is a simple, elegant and powerful circle of stone that seems to be a part of the natural landscape, a final, gentle embrace that separates the wild, open ocean from the perfect, placid world that lies within. We find a great and welcoming opening in this wall, a grand canal that serves as the main gateway into the city. As our small boat passes through this gateway, a profound and immediate change occurs. The long, deep and powerful swells of the open ocean are left behind, and we enter a world of absolute and perfect calm. The water here is as smooth and as placid as a sheet of dark, polished glass. The air is still, and the silence is deep and resonant. We have not just entered a harbour, we have entered a sanctuary. We are now in the first and outermost of the great circular rings of water that Poseidon so lovingly carved into the earth. This is a vast and magnificent waterway, a liquid street of immense and beautiful proportions. Let us imagine our boat gliding silently along this canal. The water is not murky or dark, but is of a crystalline and impossible clarity, and we can see the clean, sandy bottom far below. The banks of this canal are not hard industrial stone quays. They are soft, green, and park-like, sloping gently down to the water's edge. Their grass is dotted with strange and beautiful flowers that we have never seen before. Great, weeping trees, their branches heavy with sweet-smelling blossoms, trail their leaves in the still, clear water. The world of Atlantis is a world of perfect, graceful curves. The canal itself is a perfect and continuous circle, and as we follow its gentle winding path, the scenery is one of constant, soft and repetitive beauty. And connecting the outer ring of land to the next, inner ring, are great, soaring bridges. They are not flat, functional structures, but high, graceful arches of a beautiful, white and luminous stone. They are so high that the tallest sailing ship could pass beneath them with ease. To glide under one of these bridges is to feel as though you are passing through a gateway into an even more peaceful and more sacred part of the city. Let us now imagine our boat coming to rest at a small, simple stone dock. We step out onto the first and largest of the great rings of land. This is the circle where the majority of the Atlantean people live, and it is a place of breathtaking and gentle beauty. There are no crowded, narrow streets here, no dark and oppressive buildings. The land is a vast and continuous park, a magnificent and beautifully tended garden. The homes of the people are not clustered together but are set far apart, each one nestled in its own private grove of beautiful flowering trees and lush, fragrant gardens. The architecture is simple, elegant, and in perfect harmony with the natural world. The houses are low and graceful, their walls made of the same warm, white stone as the bridges, their roofs perhaps made of a shimmering copper-like metal that has aged to a soft sea-green patina. Water is a constant and living presence here. Small, gentle streams, diverted from the island's natural springs, meander through the gardens, their soft, trickling sound a constant and soothing music. Every home has its own pools of cool, clear water and its own groves of fruit-bearing trees. To live here is to live in a perfect and seamless blend of nature and of civilization. Let us walk now through this quiet and beautiful garden city. The people we see are as calm and as graceful as their surroundings. They are not rushing. Their movements are slow, deliberate, and full of a quiet and dignified purpose. We see them tending to their gardens, or sitting in the shade of a great tree, engaged in quiet conversation, or perhaps creating some form of beautiful art. There is a deep and abiding sense of community here, but also a profound respect for the quiet and contemplative solitude of the individual. Our walk eventually brings us to the shore of the next great ring of water. We cross another of the high, graceful white stone bridges, and we find ourselves on the second, smaller, and even more beautiful ring of land. The atmosphere here feels different still. It is quieter, more refined, and more sacred. This is the circle of the administration and of the priesthood. Here are the great public buildings of the Atlantean civilization, the halls of justice, the libraries, the academies of science and of art. The architecture is grander, the gardens more formal and more perfect, and it is here that the 10 kings of Atlantis, the descendants of Poseidon and of Cleito, have their royal palaces. But we do not imagine these as the fortified and paranoid castles of worldly kings. They are great, open and beautiful pavilions, full of light, of air, and of the gentle sound of flowing water, for the kings of Atlantis in their golden age were not rulers in the common sense. They were the wise and gentle custodians of the peace, their rule a reflection of the perfect and divine harmony upon which their entire world was founded. And then we cross the final and most sacred of the 3 canals, a waterway that feels as still and as reverent as the reflecting pool of a great temple, and we find ourselves at the foot of the central mountain, the original sacred hill where the maiden Cleito once lived her quiet and solitary life. This is the heart of Atlantis, the spiritual and geographical centre of this entire perfectly ordered world. We ascend the gentle winding path that leads to the summit of the mountain. The air grows cooler, sweeter, and the silence becomes even more profound. And at the very peak we find the greatest and most sacred structure in all of Atlantis, the great Temple of Poseidon. It is a building of breathtaking and simple beauty. Its walls and its columns adorned with the strange and beautiful metals that are unique to this magical island. And from this high and sacred vantage point, we can look back down and see the perfect and magnificent design of the entire world we have just journeyed through. We see the great central temple in which we stand. Below us, the sacred inner canal. Beyond that, the ring of the palaces and the academies. Beyond that, the next great canal. Beyond that, the vast green and park-like ring of the people's homes. And beyond that, the final, great, outer canal. And enclosing all of it, the final protective wall that separates this perfect and harmonious world from the wild and unpredictable sea. To live in such a world is to have your soul constantly and gently reminded of the principles of harmony, of balance, of order, and of a deep and centered peace. The very city you inhabit is a form of meditation. Its physical layout is a constant and powerful lesson in the beauty of a perfectly balanced life. The concentric circles are a lullaby in stone and in water, a design that turns the entire island into a single, great, peaceful, and perfectly breathing organism. And this profound external harmony was the source of the deep internal peace of its people, a peace that was so pure and so powerful that it was said to make the very walls of their city glow with a soft and gentle light. We are standing at the very heart of the world, on the high and sacred summit of the central mountain of Atlantis. Below us, the magnificent and impossible city unfolds in its perfect, concentric circles of harmony, a divine and beautiful mandala of green land and of blue, placid water. The design of this place is a perfect and constant lesson in the beauty of a balanced and centered life. It is a city whose very form is a lullaby, a silent and powerful music that has shaped the souls of its inhabitants into a state of profound and gentle peace. Let us remain here, at this high and quiet vantage point, as the great golden chariot of the sun begins its slow and graceful descent into the Western Ocean. We watch as the light of the day begins to soften, the brilliant clear blue of the sky deepening into shades of violet, of rose, and of a deep and burnished gold. The long, gentle shadows of the evening begin to stretch across the land and the water, and a cool and quiet hush falls over the perfect city. In any other place in the world, this would be the coming of the darkness, the time when the world surrenders to the deep black blanket of the night. But this is Atlantis. And here, as the light of the sun fades, a new and even more magical light begins to be born. Watch now as a soft and gentle luminescence begins to emanate from the very fabric of the city itself. It is not a sudden or a harsh illumination, but a slow and graceful blooming of a warm and gentle light. The great walls that form the outer rings of the city, which in the daylight appeared to be made of simple stone, now begin to shimmer with a soft, reddish golden fire. The tall and graceful pillars of the temples and the palaces begin to glow, as if a gentle and eternal fire is burning deep within them. The entire city, from its outermost wall to its innermost temple, begins to shine, not with a reflected light, but with a soft and living light of its own. Atlantis is not a city that is lit by lamps. It is a city that is a lamp itself, a great and gentle lantern resting in the heart of a dark and sleeping ocean. This beautiful and mysterious light comes from a metal that is unique to this blessed island, a substance that is spoken of in the ancient legends with a sense of profound and reverent awe. It is the legendary metal orichalcum. Let us now, in our minds, drift down from the high mountain and explore the nature of this wondrous and magical substance. It is not a metal in the way we understand it. It is not the cold, hard, and lifeless gold or silver of the common world. Orichalcum is something more. It is a substance that seems to be a perfect and harmonious bridge between the world of stone and the world of fire. Imagine reaching out to touch a wall that is sheathed in this precious and sacred material. It is not cold to the touch. It radiates a faint but constant and deeply pleasant warmth, like a stone that has been basking in a gentle sun all day long. Its surface is smooth and polished, but as you gaze into its depths, you see that it is not opaque. It is semi-translucent, and deep within it, a soft, fiery and almost liquid-like light seems to shift and to swirl like a captured and tamed sunset. Its colour is a deep and complex reddish gold, the colour of a dying ember, of the finest amber, of the most precious and fiery opal. This metal, the ancient story tells us, was a gift from the earth of the island itself, a unique and precious treasure found nowhere else in the world. It was mined from deep within the central mountain, in a process that was not a violent and industrial tearing of the earth, but a quiet and respectful sacred ritual. The Atlanteans did not see themselves as taking from the earth, but as receiving a gift, and they treated this precious substance with the reverence of a holy relic. And the metal itself seemed to possess a living quality. It never tarnished, it never corroded, it never lost its deep internal fire. It was a pure, perfect, and eternal substance. And if you were to become very still, and to place your ear against a great wall of it, it was said that you could hear a faint, low, and almost inaudible hum, a gentle and resonant vibration that was the very music of the Earth's deep, fiery, and creative heart. Let us now walk through the silent and beautiful streets of Atlantis in its magical, glowing twilight. The world is bathed in this soft, warm, and gentle orichalcum glow. It is a light that is profoundly kind to the eyes and to the soul. It does not create the sharp, black, and menacing shadows of a harsher light. The shadows here are soft, gentle, and transparent, a deeper shade of the surrounding warmth. The beautiful white stone of the buildings, of the bridges, and of the statues no longer appears white, but seems to be blushing with a soft, rose-gold hue. The entire city is transformed into a place of warm, gentle and romantic beauty. Let us walk beside one of the great silent canals. The dark, placid water is a perfect black mirror, and upon its surface the warm golden light of the bridges and the glowing walls is reflected. The water itself seems to be filled with shimmering liquid pathways of soft and gentle fire. A small silent boat with a single white sail glides past, its passage a silent and graceful ripple through this world of reflected light. The lush, green leaves of the trees that line the canal seem to be made of a deep and velvety emerald in this warm and magical light, and the sweet-smelling blossoms upon their branches seem to glow as if they too are their own tiny living lanterns. To live in a city that is bathed in such a light is to have your spirit constantly and gently soothed. This is a light that banishes all fear of the darkness. It creates a world of profound and unwavering safety, of deep and gentle comfort. It is a light that encourages quiet contemplation, gentle conversation, and a deep and peaceful introspection. It is a healing light, a light that seems to resonate with the very cells of the body, promoting a sense of well-being, of serenity, and of a deep and abiding calm. Our quiet, nocturnal walk now leads us back towards the sacred centre of the city, back up the gentle, winding path of the central mountain, to the great temple of Poseidon, and here, at the very heart of the Atlantean world, the use of orichalcum is at its most magnificent and most breathtaking. For this entire temple, its great and soaring pillars, its high vaulted ceilings, its very floors, are all made from, or completely sheathed in, this pure and glowing metal. To step inside this temple at night is to step into the heart of a gentle and sleeping star. The entire space is a vast and awe-inspiring cavern of soft, living and breathing reddish golden light. The air itself seems to be luminous, and the silence here is a warm, thick, and golden thing. The light is not coming from a single source. It is radiating from every surface, creating a world with no shadows, a world of pure and perfect gentle illumination. It is like being inside a great, warm and gently beating heart. This is the most sacred place in Atlantis, the great and silent heart of their civilization, and it is a space designed to dissolve the boundaries of the self and to allow the soul to merge with the gentle, divine, and fiery light of creation. This beautiful, glowing and harmonious environment was a perfect and direct reflection of the inner state of the people who created it. The outer light of the orichalcum was a mirror of the inner light that shone from the pure and peaceful souls of the Atlantean people in their long and happy golden age. The city glowed because its people were filled with a gentle spiritual light. They had created a world of outer peace that was a perfect match for their own inner serenity. And it is to these calm and gentle people, the children of the sea god, that our story now turns. The city of Atlantis is a perfect and luminous jewel, resting in the deep and quiet heart of a sleeping ocean. Its great concentric circles of land and of water are a testament to a divine and harmonious design, and its walls and its temples glow with the soft, warm and eternal fire of orichalcum. This beautiful, glowing and perfectly ordered city is a magnificent and breathtaking creation, a sanctuary of peace and of light. But a city, no matter how beautiful, is just an empty shell without the soul of the people who inhabit it. And so, let us now turn our gentle and quiet attention to the people themselves, to the children of the sea god, the serene and graceful inhabitants of the lost city of Atlantis. To walk among the Atlantean people in their long and happy golden age is to move through a living dream of peace. They are a beautiful and graceful race, tall and slender, their movements possessed of a slow, fluid and deliberate elegance, as if they are always moving through the gentle, soft resistance of calm water. Their skin has a faint, luminous quality, as if it has absorbed the soft golden light of the orichalcum that surrounds them. and their clothes are simple, flowing garments of the softest and finest fabrics, dyed in the gentle shifting colours of the sea itself, the pale, misty greens of the shallow waters, the deep, resonant blues of the twilight ocean, and the soft, pearlescent whites of the sea foam. But the most striking and beautiful thing about these people is the profound and unwavering serenity that resides within them. It is in their eyes, which are deep, calm, and full of a wise, ancient, and gentle light, the eyes of a people who have never known war or poverty or fear. It is in their faces, which are not marked with the lines of worry or of stress, but are smooth, open, and placid. And it is in their voices, which are soft, low, and melodic, their language a beautiful and harmonious music that is as gentle and as soothing as the sound of the water that flows through their magnificent city. Let us now spend a single, perfect day with these peaceful and gentle people, and let the quiet and harmonious rhythm of their lives become a soothing lullaby for our own spirits. The day in Atlantis does not begin with the harsh and sudden ringing of a bell or the cry of a rooster. The day begins with a slow and gentle blooming of the light. The deep, reddish, golden glow of the city's orichalcum, which has been a soft and gentle ember throughout the night, slowly and almost imperceptibly begins to intensify, its warmth and its light growing in harmony with the rising of the unseen sun in the world outside. This gentle, gradual and silent dawn is a perfect and peaceful awakening. The Atlantean people rise from their rest and begin their day, not with a flurry of hurried activity, but with a period of quiet and personal contemplation. Imagine them, in the cool and misty air of the early morning, making their way to the quiet, green banks of the canals or to their own private walled gardens. Here they sit in a state of quiet and simple meditation, their eyes turned towards the gentle light, their breathing slow, deep and rhythmic, their spirits attuning themselves to the deep, harmonious frequency of their city. Others engage in a slow, graceful and flowing series of movements, a form of gentle, yoga-like exercise that stretches the body and calms the mind, a silent and beautiful dance of communion with the new day. The concept of work in Atlantis is very different from our own. It is not a toil or a burden, it is the joyful and creative expression of the soul. After their morning contemplation, the people move to their chosen activities for the day. Let us wander through the city and see them. In the great and beautiful communal gardens, we see people tending to the plants. Their movements are slow, mindful, and full of a loving care. They are not farming out of necessity. The land is so magically fertile that it provides all they need with almost no effort. They are gardening as a form of art, a collaboration with nature, a way of creating beauty and of honouring the great green and living spirit of their island. In the open-air workshops, we see artisans engaged in their quiet and focused crafts. A weaver sits at a great wooden loom, her hands moving with a swift and practised grace, weaving a tapestry that is not just a picture, but a beautiful and intricate map of a feeling, its threads the colours of a dream. A potter sits at a simple wheel, their hands covered in a fine grey clay, gently and lovingly coaxing a perfect and graceful vessel into being from a simple lump of earth. And everywhere there is the sound of music. It is not a loud or a boisterous music, but a soft, gentle and ethereal sound, played on strange and beautiful instruments of crystal and of shell, its melodies based on the pure mathematical harmonies of the cosmos, a music designed to heal the spirit and to elevate the soul. And in the great quiet libraries and the open-air academies, we see the scientists and the philosophers of Atlantis. They are not engaged in a competitive and ego-driven pursuit of knowledge. They are quiet and humble students of the universe. They study the deep, silent movements of the stars and the planets, not to predict the future or to gain power, in order to better understand the divine and beautiful harmony upon which all of creation is based. They study the deep and mysterious life of the ocean, not to exploit its resources, but to learn from its ancient, slow, and powerful wisdom. Their science is a form of worship, their knowledge a form of prayer. The midday meal is a simple, social, and peaceful affair. The people gather in communal dining halls or in their own quiet gardens to share the wonderful and abundant fruits, nuts, and vegetables that their island so effortlessly provides. And as the day begins to cool and the orichalcum glow begins to deepen once more, the people gather together for the evening. They come to the great open-air amphitheatres, their seats carved in gentle, sweeping curves from the side of a hill. And here, they do not watch violent or dramatic plays. They listen to the gentle recitation of poetry, or to a quiet philosophical discourse, or to the beautiful collective singing of harmonious and gentle songs. But the deepest and most unique part of the Atlantean soul is their profound and mystical connection to the sea. As the descendants of Poseidon, the water is their true and most natural element. They spend a great deal of their time in the water, swimming in the calm, clear and placid canals, or bathing in the sacred and healing waters of the hot and cold springs that flow from the central mountain. The water is a source of joy, of health, and of a deep spiritual connection to their divine ancestor. And it is said that this connection went even deeper. Let us imagine a small Atlantean child sitting alone at the edge of a great stone quay, their feet dangling in the cool, clear water. The child is not fishing or playing a noisy game. They are simply sitting in a state of quiet and patient communion. And after a time, the surface of the water breaks, and the sleek, intelligent, and smiling face of a dolphin appears. The child does not cry out in surprise. They simply smile in recognition. And the two beings, the child of the land and the child of the sea, remain there for a time, in a state of perfect, silent, and joyful understanding, a shared moment of interspecies peace that is a normal and natural part of their world. This is the secret to the Atlanteans' profound and unwavering peace. They have the creative, curious, and intelligent minds of humanity, but this is perfectly balanced by the deep, ancient, and tranquil wisdom of their divine ancestor, the sea. They are a people who live in a state of perfect harmony, both with the world around them and with the world within themselves. Their outer world is a beautiful and gentle dream, because their inner world is a deep and quiet ocean of peace, and the constant, steady, and gentle source of this incredible harmony, the great and silent tuning fork that kept their entire civilization in a state of perfect and resonant grace, was the great and mysterious crystal that lay sleeping and dreaming and gently pulsing at the very heart of their sacred city. The people of Atlantis live in a state of serene and gentle grace. Their lives are beautiful and harmonious dance of art, of contemplation, and of a deep and quiet communion with the sea. Their outer world, the magnificent and glowing city of concentric circles, is a perfect and luminous mirror of the profound peace that resides within their souls. They are a civilization in a state of perfect and beautiful balance, a quiet and noble people living in a waking dream of harmony. But every perfect system, every beautiful and harmonious song must have a centre, a source, a great and silent tuning fork that holds the entire composition in a state of perfect and unwavering grace. For Atlantis, this centre, this source of all power, all peace, and all life, was the great and mysterious crystal, the silent beating heart of their world. Let us now begin a final, gentle pilgrimage. Let our awareness drift from the beautiful park-like rings where the people live their peaceful lives, and let us travel once more towards the sacred centre of the island. We cross the final, silent, liquid street of the innermost canal, its waters as still and as reverent as a temple pool. We begin the slow and gentle ascent of the central mountain, the original and most holy ground of the entire civilization. The air grows cooler here, clearer, and the profound silence of the island seems to deepen with every step we take upwards. We arrive at the summit, at the magnificent Temple of Poseidon, that great and beautiful structure of glowing orichalcum that we have seen before. But we will not stay in the outer courts. We will pass through the great silent open doorways and enter the temple itself. We move through the vast, golden-lit halls, our imagined footsteps making no sound on the polished floors. We are moving towards the very heart of the temple, towards an inner sanctum, a place so holy that only the wisest of the priests and the purest of the kings were ever allowed to enter. We come to a great circular doorway with no door, a perfect and welcoming opening into a new and different kind of space. As we pass through this final threshold, the warm reddish-golden glow of the orichalcum is left behind. We enter a vast circular chamber, and the world is transformed into a realm of soft, cool silver light and of deep, resonant darkness. The walls of this great chamber are made not of glowing metal, but of a deep, black, and perfectly polished stone that seems to drink all light and all sound. The ceiling is a high, dark, and invisible dome, and it feels as though we're standing in the open air, under a gentle, moonless and starlit night. The air in here is cool, still, and charged with a silent, palpable energy, a feeling of immense and ancient power held in a state of perfect and disciplined calm. The chamber is entirely empty, save for the single, magnificent and awe-inspiring object that occupies its very centre. This is the great crystal of Atlantis. Let us now simply rest our awareness upon this object and observe it in a state of quiet and reverent meditation. It is a single, colossal, and perfectly formed crystal, its base growing directly from the living rock of the mountain's peak, as if it is the ultimate, beautiful, and luminous fruit of the earth itself. It is taller than the tallest tree of the forest, wider than the mightiest column of the temple, and its form is one of a pure and organic simplicity, its sides smooth and gently curved, its great flat top pointing towards the dark and unseen dome above. It is not a clear and transparent crystal, like glass or like a diamond. It is a deep, milky and translucent quartz, and its vast internal world is filled with a soft, swirling and ever-changing galaxy of beautiful, ethereal and ghostly shapes. It is like looking into a piece of a frozen cloud, or into the heart of a captured nebula. And from the very core of this magnificent and mysterious stone, a light is being born. It is not the warm, fiery light of the orichalcum. It is a cool, soft and deeply calming silver-white light, the colour of the purest moonlight, of the most distant and ancient star. And this light is alive. It is breathing. For the great crystal pulses with a rhythm that is as slow, as deep, and as steady as the turning of the cosmos. Imagine it now. A soft, gentle and silent wave of luminous energy swells from the heart of the crystal, the entire massive stone brightening with a soft and beautiful inner light. And then, just as slowly, the light recedes, the crystal seeming to exhale its light back into its own heart, the glow softening to a gentle pearlescent shimmer. And then, once more, the slow, gentle and rhythmic pulse of light swells and then recedes. It is the slow and steady beating of the great crystalline heart of the world, a silent and hypnotic lullaby of pure and living light. And there is a sound here, but it is not a sound that is heard with the ears. It is a sound that is felt in the very bones, in the very core of your being. It is a deep, low and resonant hum, a vibration that is so profound and so steady that it becomes the new rhythm of your own body. To be in the presence of this crystal is to have your own energy field gently and lovingly attuned to its perfect and unwavering frequency of peace. The gentle, pulsing light calms the mind, and the deep, resonant hum calms the body. This is a place of profound and effortless healing, a sanctuary of pure and benevolent power. This great crystal was the source of all the life and all the harmony of the Atlantean civilization. It was not a machine that needed to be operated. It was a semi-living, semi-conscious, and eternal entity that simply was. Its gentle, powerful, and life-sustaining energy radiated out from this central chamber, flowing through the very rock of the island itself in unseen benevolent currents. This was the energy that gave the orichalcum its eternal inner fire. This was the energy that purified the water in the canals and that charged the very soil of the land with its magical and effortless fertility. And most importantly, this was the energy that kept the souls of the Atlantean people in their state of profound and gentle peace. To be born and to live your entire life within the gentle, resonant field of this great crystal was to be constantly and subtly reminded of the deep, harmonious, and beautiful nature of the universe. It was an energy that discouraged thoughts of anger, of greed, of fear. It gently and persistently tuned the human spirit to the higher frequencies of compassion, of wisdom, and of a deep and abiding love for all things. It was a perfect, self-sustaining, and self-regulating system. The crystal, the great, silent, and sleeping heart, pulsed with the rhythm of the cosmos. The city, the beautiful and harmonious body, was aligned to this perfect rhythm. And the people, the gentle and serene soul of Atlantis, lived their lives as a beautiful and effortless expression of this perfect, resonant harmony. It was a golden age of such profound and unwavering peace that it was almost beyond our own ability to imagine. A world without conflict, a civilization without strife, a people without fear, a perfect and beautiful dream. But a dream, no matter how beautiful, is a delicate and fragile thing, and a perfection that is given as a gift, rather than earned through long and difficult struggle, can sometimes be a dangerous and fragile treasure. For a question now hangs in the still, silver air of this perfect and timeless sanctuary. Can such a perfect harmony, once it has been achieved, last forever? Or is there, even in the most perfect and peaceful of hearts, a tiny sleeping seed of a shadow, a quiet and subtle pride that, if it is allowed to awaken, could cause the entire beautiful and harmonious song to drift ever so slightly out of tune? The great crystal, the silent and sleeping heart of Atlantis, continues its slow, steady and rhythmic pulse. Its pure, silver-white light fills the inner sanctum of the great temple, and its gentle, life-sustaining energy radiates out through the glowing orichalcum, through the placid waters of the canals, and through the very soul of the Atlantean people. The city is a perfect and self-contained ecosystem of peace, a magnificent and harmonious instrument that has been playing the same beautiful and unchanging song of tranquility for 1,000 years. Generation after generation is born into this perfect and effortless grace. They live their long, peaceful and beautiful lives, and they pass away into a quiet and gentle sleep, their spirits rejoining the great silent ocean of consciousness. The golden age of Atlantis seems as if it is an eternal and unchangeable reality, a state of being that has always been and will always be. The rhythm of life is as steady and as predictable as the slow, gentle pulse of the great crystal itself. It is a world without struggle, a civilization without challenge, a people who have never known a single moment of true discord. But in a universe of constant change, of endless cycles of growth and of decay, of light and of shadow, even a perfection as profound as this cannot remain static forever. The beginning of the end for Atlantis does not come as a great and terrible invasion from the outside world. It does not come as a natural disaster or a devastating plague. The end begins in the quietest, most subtle, and most hidden of all places. It begins as a single, quiet, and almost imperceptible thought, spawn in the collective and peaceful mind of the Atlantean people themselves. For many long and happy centuries, the people of Atlantis had lived in a state of deep and humble gratitude. They knew that their perfect world was a divine gift, a blessing from their great and benevolent ancestor, the sea god Poseidon. Their art, their music, their philosophy, all of it was a form of prayer, an expression of thanks for the effortless grace of their existence. But a memory, even a divine one, can fade with the passing of too many peaceful and untroubled generations. The story of Poseidon and the maiden Plato, once a living and sacred truth, slowly and gently begins to transform. It becomes a mere story, a beautiful and ancient fairy tale that is told to children in the warm, golden twilight. And as the memory of the divine source of their perfection begins to fade, a new and different idea begins to take its place. The later generations of Atlanteans, who have been born into this world of effortless grace, who have never known anything but peace and beauty and harmony, begin to look upon their magnificent civilization, and they begin to believe that it is not a gift, but their own creation. They look upon their own gentle natures, their own artistic talents, their own deep wisdom, and they begin to mistake the result of their perfect environment for the cause of it. A new thought, a thought that has never before been thought in the long and peaceful history of this island, begins to whisper in the quiet chambers of their minds, and the thought is this: we are a great and noble people. We are better, we are wiser, we are more advanced than any other people in the world. It is not a loud or an aggressive thought. It is a quiet and subtle one, but it is a thought that is born not of gratitude but of pride, and this single, small and almost invisible seed of pride is a tiny hairline crack in the surface of the perfect and flawless crystal of their civilization. It is a single, quiet and discordant note that has now been introduced into the pure and perfect harmony of their 1,000-year-long song, and once this thought has been born, it begins to grow, and as it grows, it begins to subtly change the very fabric of their world. Let us now walk through the beautiful city once more, but this time let us look and listen with a new and more sensitive awareness. The changes are almost impossible to perceive, but they are there. Let us listen to the music. The music of Atlantis was once a pure and simple expression of the divine harmonies of the universe, its melodies designed to calm and to heal. But now a new quality can be heard. The music is still beautiful, but it is now more complex, more dramatic, more self-aware. It is a music that is designed not just to create a feeling of peace, but also to impress the listener with the skill and the genius of the composer. It is a music that has become a little less like a prayer and a little more like a performance. Let us look at their art. The simple, elegant and harmonious forms of their early architecture and their sculpture, which were designed to reflect the beauty of nature, now begin to become more ornate, more elaborate, more magnificent. The new temples and the new palaces that are built are grander, more imposing, designed to celebrate not the glory of the gods, but the great and glorious achievements of the Atlantean people themselves. Their art is becoming a monument to their own greatness. And let us look at the people themselves. The deep, easy and unconscious grace of their movements is now tinged with a new and subtle self-consciousness. They are still beautiful and serene, but there is now a new quality of pride in their bearing. Their quiet and gentle conversations, which were once a shared and open exploration of ideas, are now sometimes touched by the desire to be right, to win an argument, to prove the superiority of one's own intellect. The pure and simple joy of being has been subtly replaced by the quiet and constant effort of becoming. And from this new and fertile soil of pride, a new and dangerous idea begins to sprout. The Atlanteans begin to look out beyond the protective rings of their own perfect island to the rest of the world, to the lesser and more primitive peoples who live in the lands beyond the Great Sea, and they begin to think that it is their duty, their destiny, to share their perfect civilization with these other, less fortunate races. But this thought is not born of a pure and selfless compassion. It is born of a sense of superiority, and the idea of sharing their perfection slowly and subtly begins to transform into the idea of imposing it. For the first time in their long and peaceful history, the idea of conquest, of empire, of bending the world to their own will is born, and the great and living heart of the city, the silent and conscious crystal, feels this subtle but profound shift in the harmony of its people. The great, slow and steady pulse of its silver-white light does not change its rhythm. But the light itself seems to dim just a fraction, as if a veil of a great and divine sorrow has been drawn over its luminous heart. The deep, resonant hum that fills the inner sanctum seems to change its tone, deepening into a low and almost inaudible note of quiet and profound melancholy. The perfect instrument of the city is now playing a song that is still beautiful, but that now contains within it a single sad and dissonant chord. The hairline crack has appeared. The beautiful and perfect dream is beginning to be disturbed by the first, faint stirrings of the waking world. The inner harmony has been broken, and the great and sentient ocean that surrounds this island, the ocean that is the body of their own forgotten and divine ancestor, is beginning to notice. The sea, which has for so long been their gentle and loving protector, is now beginning to feel the cold and unfamiliar shadow of its children's pride. And it begins to stir in its long and patient slumber. The tale of a golden age forgetting its humility is an echo that resonates through many legends. If there is another lost paradise or forgotten kingdom you long to visit, feel free to whisper its name in the comments below. Your longing for these lost worlds often guides our next voyage into the ocean of dreams. A single, quiet and discordant note of pride has entered the perfect and harmonious music of the Atlantean world. The flawless crystal of their civilization now bears a tiny, almost invisible hairline crack. It is a change so subtle, so deep within the collective soul of the people, that it is almost imperceptible. They continue to live their beautiful, graceful and ordered lives in their magnificent glowing city. They continue to create their art, to sing their songs, and to study the heavens. From the outside, the dream of Atlantis appears to be as perfect and as unchanging as it has always been. But the world itself, the great living and sentient being of the planet, has begun to notice. And the first to notice, the first to feel this subtle and profound shift in the island's heart, is the great and ancient ocean that is its mother, its guardian, and its home. Let us now imagine ourselves floating in the deep, blue and silent water just beyond the great circular seawall of the city. For centuries this water has been a place of profound and reassuring calm, its surface a vast and gentle mirror that reflected the perfect peace of the island it cradled. But now, a new and different feeling is in the water. The long, slow and steady swells, the deep and rhythmic breaths of a sleeping ocean, have been replaced by a new, more restless and unpredictable pattern. The waves are not yet the great and angry waves of a storm, but they are confused, choppy and agitated, moving without their old and graceful rhythm, like the troubled thoughts of a mind that can no longer find its peace. The colour of the water begins to change. The deep, clear and sapphire blue of the Golden Age begins to take on a new and sombre hue. It becomes a darker, greyer and more brooding colour, the colour of a troubled and melancholy spirit. The ocean, which was once a gentle and loving protector, is now beginning to reflect the growing disharmony of its children. It is not an act of anger, it is an act of deep and profound sympathy. The sea is a perfect mirror, and it is showing the Atlanteans the new and troubled state of their own collective soul. And this new restlessness, this quiet and sorrowful agitation, begins to seep from the outer ocean into the very heart of the city itself. Imagine the great circular canals, those magnificent and placid liquid streets that were the pride of Atlantis. Their water, for 1,000 years, has been as still and as clear as a sacred temple pool. But now, the restless energy of the outer sea begins to push its way in. The tides, which were once so gentle and so predictable, now seem to surge with a new and subtle urgency, the water in the canals rising and falling with a new and disquieting rhythm. The crystalline clarity of the water is also beginning to be disturbed. Sometimes, after a particularly strong and restless tide, the water in the canals will be clouded with a fine grey silt, a small piece of the chaos of the outer world that has found its way into this perfect and protected sanctuary. The people of Atlantis, for the first time in their long history, can look into their beautiful placid waterways and not see a perfect reflection of their own serene and confident faces. They now see a clouded, murky and uncertain image. The warnings are not just from the sea. The sky too begins to speak in a new and different language. The long and beautiful era of the endless clear and cloudless blue skies begins to come to an end. New and strange cloud formations begin to appear, clouds of a breathtaking but also sorrowful and dramatic beauty. The sunsets, which were once a gentle and peaceful fading of the light, now become fiery, tumultuous, and almost violent spectacles of colour. The sky is painted in deep, bruised purples and in impossibly vivid streaks of crimson and of blood orange. They are sunsets of a terrible and heartbreaking beauty, as if the sky itself is weeping for the slow and gentle fading of a perfect dream. And the earth itself, the very foundation of the island, begins to stir in its long and patient slumber. In the deep of the night, when the city is bathed in the soft, quiet glow of its orichalcum, a new and strange sensation is sometimes felt. It is not a violent and terrifying earthquake. It is a deep, low, and almost imperceptible shudder, a shiver that seems to run through the very bedrock of the island. It is a tremor so subtle that a sleeping person might not even be awoken by it, but they might feel it in their dreams, a deep and resonant feeling of profound and ancient sorrow. It is the sound of the earth itself letting out a single deep and mournful sigh. These are the warnings. The restless sea, the cloudy water, the fiery sunsets, the sorrowful shiver of the earth. The world is speaking to its children. It is sending them a gentle, loving and melancholic message. It is telling them that they have begun to drift from their true and harmonious centre. It is a quiet and compassionate plea for them to return to the simple and humble gratitude of their ancestors, to remember that they are not the masters of this world, but its blessed and fortunate guests. But the people of Atlantis, in their new and growing pride, have lost the ability to listen to this subtle and beautiful language. Their hearts, which were once as open and as receptive as a flower to the sun, have now become a little more closed, a little more insulated by the new and confident belief in their own greatness. They see the restless sea not as a reflection of their own troubled souls, but as a simple, mechanical problem to be solved with the brilliance of their engineering. They build the seawalls higher, they dredge the canals deeper, confident in their ability to control the natural world. They see the fiery sunsets not as a sorrowful warning, but as a new and dramatic form of beauty, a spectacle that they believe is a fitting backdrop for their own great and dramatic civilization. And the deep and gentle shudders of the earth they dismiss as the simple and unimportant growing pains of the world. They have become so entranced by the sound of their own clever and brilliant minds that they can no longer hear the deep, quiet and loving whispers of the world's heart, and so the gentle warnings are not heeded. The beautiful and perfect song of their civilization continues, but the single, quiet and discordant note of their pride grows a little louder, a little more pronounced. The hairline crack in the great and perfect crystal of their world widens, ever so slightly. The slow, gentle and inevitable process of their downfall continues, not as a punishment inflicted upon them from the outside, but as a quiet and logical consequence of their own inner shift. The great, sorrowful and loving heart of the ocean, its gentle pleas for a return to harmony having gone unanswered, now begins to prepare for a different and more final kind of embrace. And the final, perfect, and heartbreakingly beautiful day of this magnificent lost civilization is now about to dawn. The gentle and sorrowful warnings of the world have gone unheeded. The people of Atlantis, in the quiet and growing pride of their own magnificent achievements, have become deaf to the subtle and loving language of the sea and of the sky. The dissonant note of their ambition has not been resolved back into the great and harmonious chord of their golden age. And so, the great, slow and inevitable cycle of destiny begins to turn towards its quiet and final conclusion. There are no more warnings to be given. There is only now a single final day of the most perfect and heartbreaking beauty, a last loving and luminous farewell to the most perfect and beautiful dream the world has ever known. Let us now spend this final precious day in the heart of the glowing city. The day dawns with a stillness and a clarity that has not been seen on the island for a long, long time. The restless grey agitation of the sea has calmed, and the ocean that surrounds the island is once again a perfect and placid mirror of the deepest and most peaceful blue. The skies are high, vast and flawless dome of the softest and most delicate azure, a sky without a single, solitary cloud. The air is cool, sweet, and so perfectly still that the gentle sweet scent of the night-blooming flowers seems to hang in the air, a soft and invisible perfume. The people of Atlantis awaken from their slumber, and as they step out from their beautiful homes into the soft early morning light, they feel a sense of peace and of well-being that is deeper and more profound than any they have felt for many years. It feels as though the subtle and quiet discord has finally passed, that their world has returned to its original and perfect state of harmony. They do not know that this perfect crystalline calm is not a new beginning, but the deep and profound silence that comes at the very end of a beautiful and beloved song. They go about their day, and it is a day of the most simple and perfect beauty. The artists in their open-air workshops find that their hands move with a new and effortless grace, their creations imbued with a light and a beauty that seems to come from another world. The musicians, playing their crystal instruments in the shade of the weeping trees, find that their melodies are purer, their harmonies more perfect than they have ever been before. The philosophers and the scientists in their quiet and sun-dappled academies feel a sense of profound and effortless clarity, as if the deepest and most complex secrets of the universe are whispering their answers on the still and quiet air. Let us walk through the city on this final perfect day. The orichalcum on the great walls and the tall pillars seems to glow with a softer, warmer, and more gentle light, as if the city itself is basking in a state of deep and perfect contentment. The waters of the canals are once again as clear as they have ever been, their surfaces so still and so reflective that it is almost impossible to tell where the real world ends and the beautiful, watery, upside-down world of the reflection begins. The green of the gardens is a deeper, more vibrant and more life-filled green, and the flowers that bloom there are of a colour and a fragrance so pure and so intense that they seem to be the very essence of beauty itself. The entire city and all the people within it are existing in a single, perfect and timeless moment of grace. It is as if the world has decided to show them one last time the full and magnificent beauty of the paradise they were given, to remind them of the perfect and simple peace that they have so slowly and so quietly begun to forget. All the subtle, growing shadows of their pride, all the quiet and discordant notes of their ambition, all seem to have vanished in the pure, clean, and perfect light of this final, beautiful day. The afternoon passes in a long and gentle dream of peace and of quiet, creative joy. And then, as the day begins to wane, the true and final miracle of this last day begins to unfold. The sun, a great white gold disk in the perfect blue sky, begins its slow and majestic descent towards the western horizon of the great and placid sea, and the people of Atlantis, as is their custom, begin to gather in the open plazas, on the high, graceful bridges, and on the green and gentle slopes of the central mountain, to watch the daily and sacred spectacle of the sunset. But this sunset will be unlike any that has ever been seen before. It is not the fiery and tumultuous sunset of the recent troubled days. It is a sunset of such profound, sublime, and otherworldly beauty that it seems as if the heavens themselves are opening up to offer a final, loving, and heartbreakingly beautiful farewell. It begins slowly. The gold of the sun softens, and the blue of the sky begins to be washed with the softest and most delicate of colours. First, a gentle and translucent pink, the colour of the inside of a perfect seashell, begins to bleed into the eastern sky. And then, in the west, a great and silent explosion of the softest and most beautiful gold begins to radiate out from the descending sun, a colour so pure and so warm that it feels like a physical and loving touch upon the skin. The people of Atlantis watch this beautiful and familiar spectacle with a sense of quiet and deep contentment, their hearts full, unaware that this is only the prelude. For as the sun sinks lower, the colours begin to deepen, to intensify, to shift and to merge in a way that is beyond all earthly and all known beauty. The gold in the west deepens into a rich and molten bronze, and the pink in the east deepens into a profound and regal magenta, and between them the great high dome of the sky is painted in 1,000 subtle and impossible shades of violet, of lavender, of the deepest and most luminous indigo. And now the final and most magnificent act of this celestial drama begins. The sun, a perfect liquid semicircle of the most brilliant and fiery crimson, now touches the unbroken line of the horizon, and as it does, it seems to set the entire world on a gentle and beautiful fire. The placid, mirror-like surface of the ocean is transformed into a single, vast and shimmering sheet of molten copper and of liquid gold. The still waters of the canals within the city are no longer reflections of the sky. They are now rivers of pure, liquid, and unbelievable light. The orichalcum on the walls and the temples no longer glows with its own internal fire. It now burns with the reflected fire of the heavens, blazing with a gentle and almost unbearable beauty. And the faces of the Atlantean people, as they turn to watch this final, glorious moment, are illuminated, made beautiful and godlike in this warm and sacred light. The sun sinks lower still, a final brilliant sliver of crimson, and then it is gone. And for a single, timeless, and breathtaking moment, the entire world is held in a state of perfect and magical twilight. The vibrant, fiery colours begin to soften, to fade, to resolve themselves into a final, deep, and infinitely peaceful violet that fills the entire sky. The first and brightest star of the evening appears in the deep velvet sky, a single, brilliant, and hopeful diamond. A deep and collective sigh of pure and simple contentment passes through the gathered people. It is the most beautiful sunset they have ever seen. Their hearts are full of a quiet and gentle joy, and as the last of the celestial colour fades and the deep, comfortable darkness of the night arrives, the city returns to its own familiar and gentle light, the soft and constant glow of its own orichalcum. The people, their hearts full, their souls at peace, slowly and quietly begin to make their way back to their beautiful homes. They are ready now for their evening meal, for a time of quiet, conversation, and then for their final night of deep and peaceful rest. They lie down upon their beds in their beautiful and glowing city, in the heart of their perfect and harmonious world, and they close their eyes. They are completely and utterly unaware that they and their magnificent and beautiful city will never, ever see the sun rise again. The final perfect sunset has faded into a deep and tranquil twilight. The people of Atlantis, their hearts full of the quiet and simple joy of a beautiful day, have returned to their glowing homes. The city is now at rest, bathed in the gentle and familiar warmth of its own internal orichalcum light. A deep and profound peace has settled over the entire island, a silence that is as complete and as perfect as the flawless, star-dusted sky above. The inhabitants of this perfect world lie down in their beds, and they drift into their final, untroubled sleep, their dreams filled with the soft and beautiful colours of the magnificent sunset they have just witnessed. They are completely and utterly at peace, and they are completely and utterly unaware that their beautiful and beloved city and their long and gentle civilization has only a few short and silent hours left to exist in the world of air and of light. Let us now become a quiet and disembodied observer, a gentle and silent witness to the final, great mystery of Atlantis. We are floating in the deep, dark and silent air of the midnight hour, high above the sleeping, glowing city. Below us, the perfect concentric circles of land and of water are a breathtaking and beautiful sight, a great and luminous mandala resting in the heart of a vast and dark ocean. The only sound is the faint, almost inaudible and deeply resonant hum that is the quiet, sleeping breath of the great crystal at the city's heart. It is a moment of the most profound and perfect stillness, the final, quiet intake of breath before a long and final sigh. And then, in the deepest and most silent hour of the night, the end begins. It does not begin with a violent and terrifying roar, not with the angry and destructive shaking of a great earthquake. It begins as a single, deep, low, and profoundly sorrowful note, a sound that seems to rise from the very core of the planet itself. It is a hum that is so low and so deep that it is felt more than it is heard, a great and mournful sigh from the very heart of the earth. And with this deep and resonant sigh, the island of Atlantis begins a slow, gentle, and almost graceful surrender. The land does not break apart, it does not crumble. It simply begins to tilt, ever so slightly, a slow and inexorable curtsy to the great and ancient ocean that has been its home for so long. The movement is so slow and so gentle that it does not disturb a single sleeping soul in the city above. The people of Atlantis in their beds simply turn in their sleep, drawn a little deeper into their final pleasant dreams by the soft and almost imperceptible rocking of their world, like a babe in a gently swaying cradle. And now the ocean, the great and patient sea, begins its final, loving, and sorrowful embrace. The calm, dark water begins to rise. It is not a great and terrible tsunami, not a crashing and destructive wave. It is a slow, quiet, and inexorable swelling, as if the tide is coming in and has simply forgotten how to stop. The water level rises, and it comes to the top of the great outer seawall. For a moment it pauses there, a perfect dark and shimmering line, and then, with a soft and gentle whisper, it spills over. The water of the great ocean begins to flow into the outermost canal of the city. It is not a violent flood, but a silent, beautiful, and mesmerizing cascade. 1,000 soft and gentle waterfalls all around the great circular perimeter of the city. The sound is a gentle and soothing murmur, a lulling and hypnotic hiss, the sound of a world returning to its source. The outermost canal fills, its placid, contained water now merging with the great wild water of the sea. The people of Atlantis do not wake. They are in the grip of a deep and enchanted slumber, a final and merciful gift from their divine ancestor. Their dreams are now filled with the gentle, soothing, and familiar sound of flowing water, a sound that has been the quiet music of their entire lives. They are not afraid. They are at peace. And now the water in the outermost canal, having filled to the brim, begins to spill over the green and gentle banks of the first great ring of land. The sea begins its slow and quiet reclamation of the earth. The water flows into the beautiful and perfect gardens, its silent, dark currents swirling gently around the trunks of the sweet-smelling fruit trees. It flows into the quiet and empty open-air workshops and academies, its gentle touch dissolving the unfired clay on the potter's wheel and lifting the delicate painted pigments from the artist's canvas. And then, the water reaches the beautiful and luminous homes of the people. It flows in through the open doorways and the low arched windows, and it fills the rooms with its cool and quiet presence. And as it rises, it gently and lovingly lifts the sleeping Atlanteans from their beds, and it holds them in its soft and final embrace. Their last, sleeping breath is not one of terror, but a quiet and gentle sigh of release as they pass without struggle and without awareness from the sleep of life into the deep and final sleep of eternity. The great wave of quiet water continues its slow and relentless journey inward. It fills the first ring of land, and then it spills over into the second canal, another beautiful and silent cascade of 1,000 waterfalls. It fills the second ring of land, the circle of the great palaces and the temples, its dark and quiet waters flowing through the vast and empty halls, washing the memory of the kings and the priests clean. And then it spills over into the final and most sacred of the canals, and it comes to the foot of the great central mountain. And now the entire magnificent city, with its concentric circles of harmony, is submerged, and for a time it is a place of the most impossible and breathtaking underwater beauty. The orichalcum on the walls and the pillars continues to glow, and the city is now a great and silent, luminous jewel at the bottom of the sea. The soft reddish golden light shines up through the dark swirling water, a last and beautiful testament to the great and gentle civilization that now sleeps forever in its watery embrace. The water continues to rise, submerging the gentle slopes of the central mountain itself. It flows into the great temple of Poseidon, its final destination, and it enters the inner sanctum, the chamber of the great crystal. The cool, dark and silent water of the sea now surrounds the great living heart of Atlantis. And the crystal, as if it recognizes the touch of its master, Poseidon, begins to slow its gentle and rhythmic pulse. The silver-white light swells one last beautiful and magnificent time, and then it begins to fade. And as the light of the great crystal fades, all the other lights of the city, the beautiful and eternal glow of the orichalcum, all fade in perfect and gentle sympathy with it. The entire magnificent and luminous city gives one final, collective and gentle sigh of light, and then it is dark. The sinking of the dream is complete. The sun of the next morning rises on a world that has been changed forever. It rises on a vast, empty and placid ocean where the great and beautiful island of Atlantis once was. There is no sign of the great and gentle cataclysm. There is no wreckage, no debris. There is only the endless blue and quiet water and the calm and empty sky. The city is gone, but it is not destroyed. It is simply sleeping now in a new and quieter kingdom, a silent and beautiful and eternal ghost, dreaming at the very bottom of the great, deep and patient ocean. The sun has risen on a new and empty world. The long and tragic night is over, and where once lay the most beautiful and magnificent island the world had ever known, there is now only the vast, calm and unbroken expanse of the open ocean. The skies are gentle, hazy blue. The sea is a deep and placid sapphire, and there is no sign, no trace, no single piece of wreckage to tell the tale of the great and perfect dream that now sleeps beneath the waves. The story of Atlantis, in the sunlit world of the surface, is over, but our journey is not. Let us now take a final gentle breath of the warm sunlit air, and let our awareness begin a slow, peaceful, and profound descent. Let us leave the world of air and of light behind and journey down, down, down into the deep, silent, and mysterious kingdom that Atlantis has now become. Imagine yourself as a disembodied point of consciousness, a gentle and curious spirit, free from the needs of the body. You begin to sink beneath the surface of the warm blue water. The transition is soft and gentle. The bright warm light of the sun is now filtered through the water, creating a beautiful and shimmering turquoise-coloured world. Shafts of sunlight pierce the upper layers of the ocean, creating dancing, shimmering patterns of light, like a living, breathing, and ever-changing tapestry. Small, curious silver fish dart and play in this sunlit world, their scales flashing like scattered jewels. We continue our slow and effortless descent, and the world begins to change. The bright, cheerful turquoise light of the surface begins to deepen. The blue becomes a richer, more profound and more royal shade, the colour of twilight. The shafts of direct sunlight no longer reach us, and we have entered the twilight zone of the ocean. The pressure around us gently increases, not as a crushing weight, but as a firm, steady, and reassuring embrace. The water is cooler here, and the silence begins to deepen. The playful, darting fish of the upper world are replaced by new and stranger forms of life, creatures that move with a slower, more deliberate and more graceful rhythm, their bodies adorned with their own soft and gentle bioluminescent lights. Down, down, we continue to drift, leaving the last faint vestiges of the sun's world behind us. We are now entering the midnight zone, the deep and eternal darkness of the abyss. The world is now a profound and velvety blackness, a darkness that is not empty or frightening, but is full of a deep and comforting peace. It is a silence that is absolute. The pressure is immense, but we do not feel it. We are pure awareness, and we are perfectly at home in this deep and patient world. It is the womb of the planet, the place where all life began and where all secrets are kept. And it is here, in this deep and profound and seemingly endless darkness, that we begin to see a new and impossible light. It is not the light of the sun. It is a faint, soft, and impossibly slow pulse of the purest, silver-white light. It swells gently from the darkness, illuminates the deep for a long and timeless moment, and then, just as slowly, it fades back into the blackness. And after a long and patient pause, it pulses again. It is a deep and steady and sleeping heartbeat, a lonely and beautiful beacon in the eternal night. And as our awareness is drawn towards this gentle, rhythmic light, the ghostly and magnificent outlines of a great sleeping city begin to emerge from the gloom. We have arrived. We have found the silent, sunken kingdom of Atlantis. The city is still here. It was not destroyed. It was not broken apart. It has been preserved perfectly and eternally in the cold, still, and timeless embrace of the deep ocean. Let us now begin a slow and silent tour of this magnificent and ghostly world. We drift over the great outer wall, which is now encrusted with the slow and patient artwork of the sea. Strange and beautiful deep-sea corals have begun to grow upon it, their forms like the ghostly white branches of a winter forest. We float over the great concentric circles. The canals are no longer canals, but are now deep and silent trenches, and the rings of land are great circular plateaus. The beautiful, graceful, and high-arched bridges are still here, their white stone now a soft and ghostly grey in the faint pulsing light. They are draped in long, soft, and gently swaying curtains of sea moss, and they look like the gates to a forgotten and enchanted fairy kingdom. Let us drift down into what was once a great and beautiful street on the main residential ring. The elegant and harmonious homes are still standing, their doors and their windows now open, empty portals into a world of deep and quiet darkness. The beautiful gardens are gone, but in their place, a new and stranger garden has grown. Great feathery sea pens stand tall and motionless in the gentle current like strange otherworldly trees. Deep-sea anemones, their tentacles a slow and graceful dance of the most delicate and beautiful colours, bloom from the walls and the windowsills like impossible living flowers, and the world is full of a new and silent life. A great and silent crab, its legs as long and as delicate as a spider's, picks its slow and deliberate way across a once-perfect mosaic floor. A school of small, silver and ghostly-looking fish, their bodies almost transparent, drifts like a single shimmering cloud through the great open doorway of a home and out through a high arched window. A single, great and ancient octopus, its movements a slow and beautiful ballet, pulls itself gently over the roof of a small pavilion. There is no fear here. These are the new and peaceful inhabitants of Atlantis, and this is their silent and eternal kingdom. We continue our journey inward, drifting over another great coral-encrusted bridge and into the inner circle, the place of the great temples and the palaces. The scale of the architecture is still as breathtaking and as awe-inspiring as it was in the world of light. We float into one of the great halls, a vast and cavernous space that is now filled entirely with the deep and silent water. High above, where a great vaulted ceiling once was, is now only the deep, endless and patient darkness of the ocean. The great soaring pillars are still here, their surfaces now home to 1,000 small and gently glowing forms of sea life, so that the pillars themselves seem to be decorated with their own new and living constellations of soft and gentle light. The orichalcum, that beautiful and fiery metal, has lost its inner light. In the faint and pulsing glow of the deep, it is now a dark and sombre coppery red, its surface covered in a thin, dark patina. It is a ghost of its former glory, a beautiful and melancholic reminder of the warm and living light that once filled this magnificent and now silent world. Our slow and gentle journey now leads us to the final and most sacred of places, to the central mountain and to the great temple of Poseidon. It is now a true and perfect temple to the sea god, his own magnificent and silent cathedral in the heart of his deep and quiet kingdom. And we drift through its great open doorways and into the inner sanctum, the chamber of the great crystal. And it is still here. The great, magnificent and living heart of Atlantis is still here, growing from the rock, as it always has. It is not dead. It is sleeping. His great, slow and gentle pulse of soft, silver-white light is the only source of true light in this entire vast and sunken world. It is the sleeping sun of this eternal night. Let us now float here, in the cool, silent and sacred water, before this ancient and magnificent being. Let us watch its slow, hypnotic and life-giving pulse. The light swells, a gentle and beautiful wave of pure and peaceful energy that washes through us and through the entire silent sleeping city. And then the light recedes, back into the deep and milky galactic heart of the great stone, and the world is in a deep and profound darkness for a long and peaceful moment. And then once more the slow and gentle pulse of light returns. This is the new and eternal rhythm of Atlantis, a single, slow, and perfect heartbeat, a silent and powerful lullaby in the deep. The city is not a tomb, it is a cradle. It is a place of a deep and profound and unimaginable peace, a perfect dream that has been preserved forever in the timeless and gentle embrace of the deep ocean. It has become a pure and perfect memory, a legend that is not just told but that is real, and that is sleeping, and that is waiting in the silent, dark and beautiful heart of the world. We are floating in a world of profound and eternal peace. We are in the deep and silent heart of the midnight ocean, bearing witness to the magnificent and sleeping kingdom of Atlantis. The great slumbering crystal at its centre continues its slow and gentle pulse of soft, silver light a steady and silent heartbeat in the deep. The city is not a place of death or of sorrow. It is a place of a perfect and timeless preservation, a beautiful and complete dream held forever in the cold, still, and loving embrace of the sea. It has become a pure and living memory, a secret that the ocean will now keep for all of eternity. Let us now begin our slow and gentle ascent, our journey back to the surface world. We do not leave this magical and silent place behind. Instead, we carry the feeling of its deep and resonant peace with us. As we drift slowly upwards, the ghostly and beautiful outlines of the glowing temples and the coral-encrusted bridges begin to soften, to blur and to dissolve back into the deep and velvety darkness of the abyss. The final, gentle pulse of the great crystal fades from our sight, and we are once again surrounded by the profound and comforting darkness of the deep sea. The city has returned to its secret, slumber. We continue to rise, and the world begins to change once more. We ascend through the twilight zone with its strange and gently glowing creatures, and back into the sunlit world of the upper ocean. The water around us transforms from the deep, royal blue of the depths into the bright and shimmering turquoise of the surface, and the warm and life-giving light of the sun once again surrounds us. We break the surface with a soft and gentle sigh, and we are once again floating under the vast and open sky in the world of air and of light. The island of Atlantis is gone from the surface of the earth, but it is not truly gone, for the ocean itself is now the great and living keeper of its memory. The very water of the sea is now imbued with a faint, beautiful and harmonious echo of the civilization it now holds in its heart. The ocean is not just a body of water, it is now a great and liquid library, and the story of Atlantis is its most precious and most deeply held secret. And sometimes, the ocean shares a whisper of this secret with the world. Let us imagine the great and ancient whales as they travel on their long and mysterious pilgrimages through the deep, silent canyons of the sea. Imagine them passing over the place where the sleeping city lies. Perhaps they can feel the faint and gentle pulse of the slumbering crystal in the deep, and perhaps the long, low, beautiful and deeply melancholic songs that they sing, songs that travel for hundreds of miles through the water, are their own interpretation of the harmonious music they can still faintly hear. Perhaps the songs of the whales are the ocean's own lullaby, a beautiful and sorrowful song that remembers the perfect peace of the world that now sleeps below. And sometimes, in the deep and unexplored parts of the ocean floor, a coral reef will grow in a strange and beautiful, perfectly circular pattern, or a strange geometric rock formation will be discovered that seems too perfect and too orderly to be the work of nature alone. These are the faint and beautiful echoes of Atlantis, the ocean's own subconscious and dreamlike attempts to remember and to replicate the perfect and harmonious design of the city it has enfolded in its deep and loving embrace. But the most powerful echo of all is the one that has travelled not through the water, but through the human heart. It is the story itself, the faint and beautiful whisper that journeyed from the ancient stone records of an Egyptian temple to the mind of the wise Solon, and then, through the generations, to the gentle and thoughtful voice of Plato in his quiet olive grove. This story is a seed, a single, luminous, and powerful seed of a memory that was planted in the soil of our collective imagination thousands of years ago, and it has been growing there ever since. The legend of Atlantis is the great and ultimate echo. It is the source of the deep, powerful and universal human longing for a lost paradise, for a golden age, for a time and a place of perfect and unattainable peace. That feeling of a vague and gentle sadness, that sense of a beautiful and perfect world that has been lost to us, is a feeling that every human soul has felt at some quiet and contemplative moment in their lives. And perhaps this feeling is not just a fantasy. Perhaps it is a true, deep, and cellular memory, an echo of a time when our souls were in a state of perfect harmony with the world, a state of being for which Atlantis is the most beautiful and most powerful of all symbols. The reason that the story of the lost city feels so familiar, so resonant, so strangely and deeply true, is because a small and quiet piece of that great and silent ocean of memory exists within each and every one of us. In the deepest and most quiet and most unexplored parts of our own minds, there is a small, sleeping and silent kingdom. There is a place of perfect peace, a place of harmonious balance, a place of a gentle and healing inner light. And so, the story of Atlantis has not been a journey to a lost and outer world of history and of myth. It has been a gentle, quiet, and circular journey back to the centre of our own being. The perfect and harmonious city of concentric circles is a beautiful and intricate map of the peaceful and ordered potential of your own soul. The orichalcum glow is the warmth of your own compassion, and the great sleeping crystal is the deep, silent, and all-powerful core of pure and simple consciousness that resides at the very heart of you. Let us now allow this great and beautiful story to return to its own deep and peaceful slumber. The whispers of Plato have faded. The vision of the glowing city has dissolved. The silent, sunken kingdom has returned to its eternal and patient rest. The legend has been told, and it now flows back into the great and silent ocean of all stories, its gentle and beautiful echo now a permanent and peaceful part of your own inner world. And so, the legend of Atlantis, the lullaby of the lost city beneath the waves, comes to its quiet and peaceful end. The tale of the perfect and harmonious dream has now faded back into the deep and gentle currents of time, leaving behind a profound and lasting echo of a deep and resonant peace. Just as the great and beautiful city itself has now found its final, silent rest in the cradle of the ocean, may you now allow yourself to sink gently into your own deep and quiet ocean of slumber. May you carry the feeling of the city's gentle golden light and the slow hypnotic pulse of its great crystal with you into your dreams. The long and ancient journey is over. The beautiful city is now sleeping, and your own personal and peaceful voyage into the night is now complete. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the heart of a timeless legend. If these quiet whispers of a lost world have soothed your spirit, you can help other weary souls discover this peaceful ocean of dreams by subscribing and activating the notification bell. Your gentle support ensures that more ancient myths can be brought to light here each and every week. Until the next story calls to you from the deep, may your slumber be profound, your dreams be beautiful, and your peace be as deep and as endless as the ocean itself. Sleep well.